cast iron cylinder heads and which are the best ones to look for, which are the best ones to find, okay? Small block Chevy and big block Chevy. That's it. That's all we're going to talk about today. So, first one's first, is you guys know what it is. It's the Vortex. Vortex, out of the box, stock, factory, they flow the best, okay? They make the most power. But there's some provisos in there. Casting numbers are 062 and 906. Those are your gold numbers, okay? Those are the ones you want to look for in the junkyard, okay? Those are the best flowing. Now, they make some 305 models that don't flow as good. You got to be careful for those. 059 and 520, okay? Those numbers, they flow, but they don't flow near as good as the 350 Vortex, okay? So don't use those 059 and 520s. Don't use them. You can get them if you want to. If you got 305, they'll pep up your 305, but I wouldn't suggest putting those on a 350 or a 400, okay? And the proviso with Vortex is they will only handle safely up to 450 lift, okay? From the factory. You have to get them machined to be able to accept the springs and stuff to be able to run a higher lift on your cam, okay? Or a roller cam, which most guys are going to roller cams now, you know, because of the lifter problems we're having in the industry right now. But if you're going to go roller aftermarket, the high lift numbers, you're going to have them heavily machined. And then to do that, you have to put screw-in studs in them, the whole 9 yards. You're going to have to spend some money to get them where they'll work. Okay? But those are your best bet out of the box, okay, for the Vortex. All right? Now, let's talk about double humps. Okay, the 292s, the turbos, the 487s, 487Xs, you name them. If it's got a double hump on the end of it, it's double hump head, okay? Their flow numbers are pretty good. They're not as good as the Vortex, okay? And even if you extensively port them, they still won't flow as much as Vortex out of the box, okay? Vortex will take some work. They'll take some bowl blending and, you know, they'll take some cleanup stuff and flow a little bit better numbers. But no matter what you do, that old technology, the cast iron double hub heads, will not flow as much as Vortex. They just won't, no matter what you do, okay? Now, I want to give an honorable mention for me, okay? Vortex flow about 230 CFM at about 500 lift. 450s, that's where it's done, okay? So they flow pretty good, 230 CFM, all right? Double humps, they run. Hey, while you're here and you're watching, smash the like button. Right about, double humps run right around 215 CFM out of the box, okay? You can port them out and you can get some more out of them, but they'll still, the Vortex just beat them up terribly when it comes to flow numbers, okay? And chamber design and a whole bunch of other things. I mean, it's a new technology against old technology, okay? I'm not saying anything bad about double humps. I'm just saying you can spend all the money you want on them and they're still not going to flow as good as Vortex, all right? Now, my honorable mention is my 882s. My beloved 882 smog heads from the 70s with the hardened exhaust seats already in them. They have been my bread and butter for 40 years. I love them. I think they are untapped source of treasure when it comes to affordable to find. They're everywhere. Heads with a little bit of work can flow great numbers. Okay. Now 882s out of the box. 882s out of the box. The intake ports, they flow 190 CFM. As you know, you've seen the videos. As they're the smog heads, they're restricted. You open them up and they'll flow 210 CFM, okay? From the intake port. They'll flow that kind of number through that hole, okay? They'll flow 215 CFM stock with a little bit of work. And that's pretty impressive for a smog head with a large chamber flowing 210 CFM at 500 lift. That's that's pretty good. I mean, for just a little bit of work. I mean, I think I can port a set out in about 12 hours. Hey, have you subscribed yet? If you'd like to, subscribe. Completely done. Blended, bolt, smoothed out, breathing better, bigger holes on the intake side. I can make them work for pennies on the dollar when it comes to even just trying to buy a set of double humps, because everybody thinks they're dipped in gold because they're double humps. Okay. Everybody thinks they're dipped in gold, and I just don't see it. Okay. You know, now there's nothing cooler than when you go to a car show and you look down and you see that little double humps on the heads, you know, on a 69 Camaro. Ain't nothing cooler than that. But they are not the end all to be all when it comes to, in my opinion, they're not the end all to be all of cylinder heads that are double humps. They just have a lot of history. Okay. So, in my opinion, if you got the money and you want the best flowing you can get out of the box, you're going Vortex. If you want an affordable, you can get them for like next to nothing out of the junkyard or from friends, whatever, and you got the stuff at home to do it and the time to do it. 882s is where I'm going, because the money I don't spend on buying the cores, I'm putting in other places like springs, you know, and just do the pour work and just make them flow better. Right. So for your bang, for your buck, if you want to go straight out of the box, you know, everybody has their opinion, and everybody, this is just information that I've researched and I'm giving to you. All right. You can make your own decisions about this stuff. Okay. Now we're going into big blocks. And of course, big blocks number 1 and 2 is going to be 049s and 781s. They are the best. I had 781s on the race car, and I put them on stock, and it ran great. I never even touched them. I just had a valve job done. I put new springs on them, and I was done. And I just ran them like they were, and they run great on the 454. I mean, they run great. Okay, so phone numbers for the flow numbers for 049s and 781s are about 255 CFM. That's pretty good out of the box for a big stock cast iron big block heads. Okay. You can't argue with that. Those are pretty good numbers. Those are going to make power. Okay. And the 049s and 781s, because they're oval ports and they're open chambers, they do good on the bottom end, mid-range, and top end. They do great. Okay. I can't talk about them more. I'm looking for a set of 781s right now, because, you know, you don't never know when you're going to need them. But I mean, they're out there. They're available. You just got to look for them, you know, and they're bulletproof. They really are for a cast iron head. Okay. Now we're going to go rectangular port. Now the funny part about rectangular ports is, yes, they flow better numbers top end. They'll make more power top end, but they're going to be terrible on the bottom end, because the way they're designed, they flow once you get up in the 600-700ths of an inch lift, and then they flow once you get some RPMs up. I mean, they really work good mid-range to high range. Okay, but low end, they're not very good at all. They don't make good power because they just fall off the cliff low end. I mean, so if you want a race car and you don't have the money for aftermarket heads, you know, square port big block heads are your way to go, because you're going to be in that RPM range all the time. But for daily driving, they are awful. I've been in cars with those heads on them, and with, you know, good gears and a 4-speed and the whole 9 yards, and they are bumbling and stumbling, and they don't work good lower RPMs daily driving and you know, stop and go traffic. They just don't. As opposed where the 781s, they'll work wherever you want to go. Daily driving, tow trucking, you know, off-roading, whatever you want to do, they are good to go no matter what you want to use them for. Okay. Now, there is an offshoot of these, which is the closed chamber, small chambered 60s models big block heads. And those numbers are, I had to write them down because I couldn't remember. They're 063s, 215s, and 390s. Okay. Those heads, which I have a set of the 390s, actually I have 2 sets now. Okay. They run just as good of numbers as the as all the rest of them, except for they are a closed chamber head. Okay. What that means is, like, for a 781 head, the chamber size is about 121, 122 cc's. All right. It's big. It's a big hole in the engine, in the cylinder. It'll, it'll keep your compression low. It flows out, the fuel atomization is good. And they were designed for smog heads. They were designed for the 70s, to flow good numbers, but not have a high compression ratio. Okay. Now, the latter are closed chambers, which means they go down to about 109 CFM or CC, about 109 CC. Okay. And that puts a lot of squish. Now, you couple that. Now, you couple a small chamber, instead of having a big chamber, having a small chamber where the valves are sitting in a pocket, and having a pop-up piston, a raised pop-up piston, fit inside there and put the squish to it. That's where back in the 60s, you could get gasoline, you could burn that. Okay. But these days, unless you're spending money for race gas, you're not going to get the octane you have to do that 11, 12 to 1 compression. Okay. From the factory. That's the way they came. All right. With pop-up pistons in them. And that's what a pop-up piston is. It's a flat top with just a ledge on it, and it just puts a squish in that head and makes a compression ratio and makes a lot of power. Okay. But what you can use those for is if you are doing, like I'm doing, a rebuild with flat top, 2 valve relief pistons. Okay. Flat, no dome on them, no pop-ups, no nothing. Okay. Which they should run about 8.2 to 1 compression. Now, you take 122 cc's and you cut it down to 109 cc's, you're raising your compression ratio up at least a point. Okay. But because it doesn't have that piston sitting in that hole, it has that piston sitting with that hole like this, it's a lot less prone to detonation. Okay. There's no hot spots to hit. Okay. It will still, you'll have to adjust the time and everything, but it will make power. Okay. But it will, just by changing the heads, up your compression ratio on like a stock bottom end, which makes more power, which you have, like I said, adjust the time in, tune it a little bit more. But it is definitely a power adder if you want to do it. Okay. Now, the skippy about big blocks is they're freaking heavy. Okay. Like a big block engine weighs 675 pounds. That's a lot of weight. A big block cast iron cylinder head weighs upwards of 75 pounds. Okay. An aluminum big block head, an aftermarket aluminum head, weighs about 23 pounds. Okay. So theoretically, if you just went in and everything was the same, cast iron to aluminum, you're dropping 100 pounds off the nose right away. And everybody knows 100 pounds is a tenth of a second at the drag strip. Written in stone, stamp it. Okay. So there's a lot of weight concerns. Okay. But basically, they all kind of flow the same. They just have different uses. Okay. But no matter what happens, a cast iron head, an older 60s and 70s cast iron head, is never going to perform like a new technology aftermarket aluminum cylinder head, or even like a World Products cast iron cylinder head. It's just not going to produce the kind of power that you could if you spend the money aftermarket. But there's a lot of us out there that don't have that dime, because aluminum big block heads are expensive. They're a second mortgage. I mean, they're expensive. Okay. They're great. I ain't got nothing against any of them, but man, I just don't have the dime. So until somehow I hit the lottery or something, I'm going to be going cast iron heads on everything that I build or run. So I'm going to do the best I can. Now, all these heads, all these big block and small block heads we're talking about, they can all of them can use port work, blending, smoothing out, casting flash, all that kind of stuff cleaned up, which does improve how well they work. No matter what you do, a little bit of work can go a long way with all of these heads we've talked about today. The other thing I like about big block heads is they all come with all the high performance stuff on them. They come with screw in studs, guide plates, you know, heavy duty push rods. You know, they are a heavy duty, high performance stuff. Now, there's a lot of blocks out there that everybody thinks says truck, everything says high performance, you know, they all say that when it comes to the big block. But it's kind of true. I mean, once you've had one in a car or a truck and you're tooling around and you got it tuned right and it's running right, it can be a beautiful thing. It's one of those, like, you think to yourself, why didn't I do this earlier? Well, because of cost. I mean, bottom line, you know, this stuff ain't cheap no more, you know. So so if you want to see my best little video ever made, right here. If you want to see the one that they say is best for you, is right there. Y'all be good.